Hello, I'm Julia. I'm a product manager on the Azure Kubernetes service team, and today I'll be announcing the new AKS Model Context Protocol, or MCP server, which is currently in public preview and fully open source. What if GitHub Copilot or your favorite AI agent could troubleshoot, perform operations, and manage your AKS cluster for you? Now, this can be a reality with the AKS Model Context Protocol server. So what is a Model Context Protocol server? This is a standardized protocol that allows AI agents to interact and pull data from infrastructure such as AKS clusters. The AKS MCP server allows you to unlock intelligent automation by standardizing and streamlining the way AI agents interact with your AKS cluster. It bridges the gap between natural language and complex Kubernetes operations, allowing AI agents to translate your natural language prompts into real actions on AKS clusters and related resources. The AKS MCP server is a foundational component for intelligent automation, with key capabilities such as a unified interface for diagnostics, remediation, and lifecycle operations, access to AKS cluster data and related Azure resources such as VNets, NSGs, logs, metrics, compute, and storage. And this is done through unified built-in tooling for cluster management. I'll provide some more details on the tools available in the MCP server in the next slide. The full list of tools available for the AKS MCP server can be found in the open source documentation. A short list of tools we want to highlight here are cluster management, view cluster details, and perform lifecycle operations such as create, update, and scaling on your AKS clusters. Monitoring. You can pull historical metrics and logs to be used by agents for troubleshooting purposes, and these signals can come from Azure Monitor, Log Analytics, and Application Insights. Networking. You can inspect associated networking resources such as VNets, subnets, route tables, and more for managing and troubleshooting complex network setups. So right now I have my VS Code open, and the recommended way to install the AKS MCP server is directly through the AKS extension. So if you search for extensions here, you'll see one called Azure Kubernetes Service. This is the official AKS VS Code extension, and you want to make sure that you're on at least version 1.6.12. After getting to this version, if you open up the command palette, you'll see a new tool here called AKS Setup AKS MCP Server. Clicking on this, the AKS MCP server will be configured automatically. And now that it's configured, I want to go ahead and start it. So opening the command palette once again, I'll go to MCP list servers, and here you'll see a new one called AKS MCP. Clicking on this, I want to start. And here you'll see the server has started and it's registering 14 tools and it's listening for requests. And finally, I do want to enable read-write permissions on the MCP server. This is so that the MCP server can go ahead and deploy any debugging tools, debug pods, etc. onto my cluster while doing the investigation. So I'll click into AKS MCP, I'll click Show Configuration, and here I will manually type in the access level that I want. In my case, I want to do read-write permissions. There are 3 different access levels here. You can select either the default, which is read-only, you can do read-write, and then you can also do admin level permissions. And you can find more information on these permissions in the AKS MCP documentation. So now I'm going to click Start again. And you'll see here it discovers 17 tools. So now all of the tools, including those that require write permissions, have been enabled. Now that my MCP server is set up, I will start the debugging process using GitHub Copilot and try to figure out what is going wrong with my cluster. So I'm starting off with a pretty high-level prompt. My customers are reporting issues connecting to my application, which is running in this cluster, and can you help me troubleshoot and resolve the issue? So starting off, I see that it's already starting to call a bunch of tools from the AKS MCP server. For example, it ran this one kubectl resources, which is getting the current state of the application pod. And as you can see, it's currently in running status. There's no obvious issues with this pod right now. And then it continues on to test external connectivity from the application pod. And after running a couple of exec commands to do an NSLOOKUP of google.com and some other domains if found an issue. So the issue is that there's a selective DNS resolution failure. The application pod can resolve yahoo.com, but not some other domains like Google and Microsoft. And then it continues the investigation to see if this is a cluster-wide issue or just specific to the application. The next step it goes into is a DNS trace with Inspector Gadget. So Inspector Gadget is an open source tool that you can use to capture detailed observability information on your cluster. And we're using Inspector Gadget today to capture this detailed DNS traffic and see what queries and their results are happening around my cluster. And it was able to get the trace results. It's telling me that I have a custom DNS server, which is blocking some domains. For example, for google.com, all the queries are getting a server failure, but for yahoo.com, it's successful. So now I know DNS is not blocked across my cluster or across this pod, but rather for specific domains. And then the next step here is checking the core DNS health. And this is to isolate the issue if it's specific to the core DNS service or if it's something at the pod level or at the domain level. So after running some commands, for example, describing the core DNS pod, we can see that it's currently in running state and it's healthy. And now this is what I'm most interested in, which is identifying the root cause. So the root cause was identified after running all of these different commands and tools from the AKS MCP server. It was able to isolate the issue to my custom DNS server, which is overriding the normal service, and it's also selectively blocking certain domains, such as google.com and microsoft.com. And now for the targeted resolution steps. Some things I can do to fix this issue is to check my DNS service configuration, see why it's not using the normal core DNS configuration, but rather a custom DNS server, and then to either remove the override or adjust the rules here. And it gives me some commands I can run as well. We've now reached the end of the AKS MCP Server demo and announcement video. We're so excited to bring to you the AKS MCP Server, which is now in public preview and available for you to try out. For any bug reports, issues, or requests for new tools or integrations, feel free to directly open up a GitHub issue and our team will get to you shortly. Thank you.